Welcome back to another episode of the Street Fighterverse. In today's episode, we dive deep into the mysteries surrounding the iconic Street Fighter character Akuma, from his bitter rivalries and powerful abilities to the origins of his satsu no hado. We'll uncover the truth behind the demon warrior, so get ready to unravel the mysteries of Akuma. Without further ado, let me welcome you to the Street Fighterverse. We will start this episode with a character that has deeply impacted Akuma's life, Gouken. Akuma is Gouken's younger brother and nemesis. Gouken greatly despises him for embracing the satsu no hado and murdering Gotetsu, their sensei and mentor. Because of this, he does all he can to protect Ryu and Ken from him, to the point where he willingly fights Akuma in a battle to the death so that he won't come after them. Our next character was one of the most powerful assassins within the Street Fighter universe, Gen. Gen saw Akuma as a skilled opponent who could finally kill him, a morbid desire amplified by his own terminal sickness. However, their skills often clash, giving each other challenges. Akuma, however, backed down upon learning Gen is fatally ill, but would engage him again after seeing he can still fight. Akuma emerges victorious, and is amplified to have killed him for good in Street Fighter V, in their last fight to the death. In the latest issue of Akuma Goes to Hell, after his encounter with the demonic Darkstalkers, Akuma chooses to remain in the hellish Makai dimension to take his training to terrifying new levels. Alone in a demonic landscape, Akuma battles unearthly creatures, giant monstrosities, and battles an undead form of Gen. He is the Overlord, mastermind of the world's deadliest terrorist organization, and Bison. Akuma, despite having no direct grudge, holds major contempt towards Bison, the latter being an even more sick kind of evil, using shortcuts to power. Because of this, he has no problem killing him on a whim. Bison, on the other hand, wants Akuma's satsu no hado as a means to increase his own power. His disdain for Bison persists, even when he becomes Oni, and perhaps is even greater. He is a Japanese hermit who is over 140 years old and has mastered the secrets of immortality. Oro is among one of the only men who have matched Akuma in combat. The two have fought each other to a draw, as the fight was called off due to the two fighters sensing that if they fought each other seriously, it would result in a mutual kill. Both have earned each other's respect and contempt on a personal basis. The leader of the secret society, Gil. Upon hearing about his powers, Akuma desired to fight Gil. Akuma killed Gil with the raging demon, but left without realizing that Gil could resurrect himself. This character is by far Akuma's greatest rival, no other than Ryu. Akuma is one of Ryu's most hated enemies, as he was the one who tried to kill his master Gouken. Akuma also attempts to lure Ryu into succumbing into the satsu no hado, therefore casting aside his humanity, in hopes of finally finding a worthy opponent for the ultimate fight to the death. Ryu knows this is a trap of temptation planned by Akuma, as Ryu has tried his best to find a way to get rid of the satsu no hado, while refusing to succumb to that kind of power. Akuma sees this tempting him after finally conquering the dark power, and mastering his own hado power in Street Fighter V. Ken. Like Ryu, Ken is aware of the threat Akuma possesses over humanity. Asura. Asura is perhaps Akuma's greatest rival. After Asura defeated Ryu, he then fought Akuma for over 500 years. Adon. Because Akuma killed Muay Thai master that Adon was supposed to fight, Adon seeks to defeat Akuma to prove himself. In Street Fighter Alpha 3, Adon fights Akuma and loses to him. Akuma doesn't kill him, however, due to him deeming Adon worthy of death. Nekali. Nekali is an ancient spirit that seeks to devour Akuma's soul. When Nekali successfully absorbs it, Akuma escapes his stomach using the Mudo Tensho. Abyss. The final boss in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. He has three forms, including a giant black statue man, a green ghost-like man, and a giant lava monster. Garuda, a demonic being clad in samurai armor, capable of absorbing negative energies to strengthen his own power. From Tekken, Kazuya Mishiyama, Kasumi's son, corrupted by his own devil gene, inherited from her. Akuma is tasked by Kasumi to destroy him should he also fall prey to power like his father. Akuma fights Kazuya at G Corporation's Millennium Tower and pushes him to transform him into his devil form. The fight is interrupted as Heihachi attempts to kill both Akuma and Kazuya by blowing up the tower with a satellite laser. Both are revealed to have survived. However, with Akuma returning to try and finish Kazuya off after Kazuya's victory against Heihachi in a post-story bonus chapter. Upon seeing him, Kazuya transforms into his devil again, and Akuma answers by becoming Shin Akuma. The fight ends in a cut scene where both fire their respective projectiles at each other. The outcome of the battle is left undecided as the volcano bursts with lava, though dialogue after the scene implies Kazuya to still be alive and a threat to the world. Heihachi Mishiyama, Kasumi's husband, who has caused many problems with his ambition. Akuma is also instructed by Kasumi to destroy him. Akuma and Heihachi fought alongside one another momentarily against Kazuya's Jack 6s. Akuma reveals that he waited for Heihachi to establish his own strength before engaging him, one of many instances of his moral code being followed. Heihachi proved to be a challenge for Akuma, but he ultimately defeated him as he blew up the Mishima dojo. Later, it is revealed that Heihachi actually survived, buried under his own dojo. This allowed him to fake his death and reveal Kazuya's devil form to the world. He attempted to kill both Kazuya and Akuma by targeting G Corporation's Millennium Tower with a satellite laser. Despite successfully destroying the tower, both Kazuya and Akuma are revealed to have survived the blast. Kazuya used his Devil Blaster on Saibatsu's satellite, prompting Heihachi to vindictively tell their family story from his perspective before the two meet for a final fight to death. Akuma is present, apparently watching both Heihachi and Kazuya fight, until Kazuya finally kills Heihachi, and Akuma prepares to take out the victor. Akuma has pushed the boundaries of his power, and the boundaries in his traditional appearances. In Street Fighter II, the animated movie, even though in this movie is more surrounded by the main protagonists Ryu and Ken, and the main antagonist M. Bison, Akuma has managed to be in the backgrounds of the cities of Calcutta, sitting in front of a wall, most likely as a spectator to the fight Dalsum and Honda had. In animated Street Fighter II V series, he is also seen multiple times on different places and occasions. Akuma also appears in the arcade versions of Street Fighter, the movie, as a regular character. He also appears in the console versions of Street Fighter, the movie, as a secret boss who can be selected via a cheat code. In South Park, Imagination Land Episode 2, Butters wakes up to find his mother and father at his bedside, having cooked him breakfast. Butters explains about his weird dream of Imagination Land, only to find out that he was only hallucinating with his eyes closed. He wakes up in Imagination Land, having passed out and wet himself, and becomes sad that his parents are never gentle to him. The evil side of Imagination Land breaks through the barrier and charges at the residents of the good side. The terrorists proclaim Allah, but are killed in seconds by one of the creatures. The mayor of Imagination Land is then badly injured by Alien, and Butters is pursued by Predator and stormtroopers. In the background, we see a glimpse of Akuma as he is gathered with the other evil side members as they are having a discussion of who is the evilest of all. Akuma has also appeared in other gaming franchises as well. Akuma, along with Ryu, both made appearances in Capcom and CyberConnect 2's collaborative beat-em-up title Asura's Wrath. Akuma appears as a DLC-only character with his own fleshed-out episode titled The Strongest vs. the Angriest. Much like Ryu's episode, it uses the Super Street Fighter IV engine while shifting to the traditional battle system for the second half. The story picks up after Ryu's episode, where Akuma suddenly appears. To prevent distractions, Akuma immediately executes the Demon Armageddon on Ryu, but instead of piercing him, he launches him so hard it forces Ryu through a wormhole back to his original timeline. When Akuma learns of Asura's name, he reveals himself to be familiar with the deity's background as a being of wrath and challenges him. Akuma retains his move from Super Street Fighter IV and switches ultras between matches. The wrath of the raging demon can be countered through a quick time event. At the end of the first half, he transforms into Oni. At the end of the battle, Asura and Akuma, reverting from Oni somehow, continue to fight, with the fight apparently lasting for 500 years. In the time skip, both fighters are still facing each other in a standstill and have turned to stone with developing moss. Eventually, both statues begin to move at last, finally finish the fight, ending in a cliffhanger. In Capcom vs SNK 2, Akuma appears as a boss. He is shown on a roof in Osaka, fighting Rugal. If it's normal Akuma, he will appear by himself, wondering who emitted a great war cry. Akuma then deduces that it was the player's character team and proceeds to challenge them directly. When he is defeated, He states that he will never give up, and then says that a real challenger has appeared at last, which is none other than Rugal himself, and the two proceed to battle at once. If he is the one speaking to Rugal on the roof, he states that he will remember Rugal's name and performs the shun goku satsu on Rugal. However, Rugal then grabs Akuma by the chest, commenting on how much the satsu no hado impressed him, and forcibly gives the orochi power to Akuma before his death. He will then transform into Shin Akuma, also known as God Akuma in this game, due to the different kanji that appears on his back. If defeated, he is left clinging to life until black entities revive him and take him away, ordering him to go on and become stronger. However, if Rugal is the one speaking to Akuma, he states that he enjoyed the satsu no hado and comments that Akuma is not worthy of it. Deciding that it requires a new possessor, he then kills Akuma outright and absorbs his satsu no hado to become ultimate Rugal. However, Akuma takes possession of Rugal's body, and as his mind isn't strong enough to contain his power, he then disappears after Rugal's defeat, stating he has no name and is nothing and everything. If the game is cleared with Akuma, the following text scrolls. Though he has beaten the evil powers, Akuma isn't satisfied. He is not satisfied by power, energy, or victories. Nobody can realize what Akuma longs for. As fandom states, the brothers Akuma and Goken were students of Gotetsu. Gotetsu's martial art is a life-threatening pursuit that incorporates diverse martial arts into its execution. He also taught shun goku satsu, a lethal technique which, though extremely powerful, puts its practitioner in substantial danger. It is said that under Gotetsu's teachings, the brothers debated the true nature and path to mastering their fighting style. Goken, unable to accept the violent nature and the satsu no hado of his fighting style, left Gotetsu to begin his own dojo, which Gotetsu did not oppose. Akuma continued Gotetsu's teachings and vowed to use their fighting style as it was intended. He relinquished all empathy to the principle of satsu no hado in order to gain knowledge of shun goku satsu. Further, Akuma realized his limit as a martial artist could be expanded, so he left Gotetsu's guidance of enlightenment to train alone to gain more power. In contrast to Gotetsu, who had been able to use the satsu no hado without indulging in its dark side, he developed a lust for combat as a result of embracing the satsu no hado fully. When Akuma came back, he entered a death match with Gotetsu to prove his superiority. The shun goku satsu was used by Akuma to kill his master. The master, happy to see his student surpass him, died, and Akuma placed the prayer beads of his dead master around his neck, believing he was the true master. Goken came to visit his former master to see how he was doing, only to find his lifeless body and his brother, now no longer human. The shocked Goken, seeing that Akuma had killed their master, confronted him, but Akuma said nothing and left for the woods. Akuma confronted Goken many years later. He told Goken that he was not strong enough to face him without giving in to the killing intent. A retort from Goken accused Akuma of dishonoring his master by showing disrespect to his art, which he explained was much more than death and destruction. Akuma explained to his brother that Gotetsu did not fully comprehend the satsu no hado, and that he was a fool for not using it. A fight ensued, and Goken prevailed. Akuma instructed his brother to kill him, but Goken had no intention of murdering his own family, which caused Akuma to call his brother weak for sparing the life of a powerful opponent, and told him that he would return. Several years later, it is said that Akuma returned to Goken's dojo and fought him. Using the shun goku satsu, Goken had somehow lost his soul during the attack and survived in a coma, but Akuma believed him dead. Ken saw the flash of the attack while running to the dojo, but arrived only to find Goken on the floor. Akuma was in the woods when Ken confronted him and fought him. When Ken was defeated, Akuma disappeared. In search of worthy opponents, Akuma begins searching the globe, secluding himself in the shadows. He watches small tournaments and street fights, desperately seeking someone who might be able to match his strength. He then is challenged by a man named Gen. Gen fights a vicious battle, even surviving the shun goku satsu by emptying his soul in time. The moment Akuma begins to wonder if this man is the worthy opponent he is searching for, he senses something is amiss. Akuma's suspicions are confirmed when Gen's mouth bleeds. The competitor is ill, making the match unfair. Gen tells Akuma to kill him after being knocked to the ground. As Akuma can no longer stand the battle any longer, he leaves angering Gen. After the battle, Akuma becomes obsessed with Ryu, trying to awaken the satsu no hado within him. Eventually, Ryu finds Akuma's island and challenges him. While Akuma merely tested Ryu, Ryu eventually won the battle. Akuma regains composure and tells Ryu to find him again once he has embraced the satsu no hado, before striking the ground with a powerful blow and disappearing. Ryu lies in the ocean as the island collapses around him. He contemplates Akuma's words. As he leaves his destroyed home, Akuma remembers all the fighters he had faced and wonders with anticipation if one day he will encounter someone strong enough to kill him. He finds a desolate cavern and begins to train, looking forward to the day he will face Ryu again. At some point, he defeats and kills a Muay Thai fighter. Adon sees this as a challenge and sets out to find Akuma, to fight him and prove that he is stronger. In his ending, he comes to the realization that worthy opponents have challenged him during his journey. He decides that he could stay on Earth to perfect his killing power, knowing that they are opponents that Akuma can consider worthy. While thinking about the opponents he challenged, there are visions of Gen, M. Bison, and Ryu on the moon. He then comments that he will be the next to die. While waiting for Ryu to embrace the Satsu no Hado, Akuma wanders the globe in search of worthy opposition. He is confronted by Adon, who wishes to establish his fighting style as supreme. Akuma easily wins, but instead of killing Adon, he just leaves, apparently deeming his defeated foe as unworthy. Sometime later, Akuma is intercepted by Guy, who refuses to allow him to see M. Bison. Akuma ignores Guy's pleas and engages him in combat. The two then decide to end the fight after they realize their primary objective was the same, defeating M. Bison. He then confronts Bison, who tells Akuma that he won't be able to defeat him as long as the Psycho Drive exists. Akuma berates the dictator for not relying solely upon his fists, and they fight. As Akuma emerges victorious, he completely terminates Bison with the Raging Demon, causing him to suffer horribly as the attacks kill him. In his ending, Akuma is then challenged by Gen once more, and they fight a second battle, the results of which are unknown. Ryu rejected the Satsu no Hado during his own battle with the Shadowloo leader, M. Bison, declaring that a true warrior does not rely on violent intent. In Super Street Fighter II Turbo, it is said that Akuma did not officially enter the Second World Warrior Tournament, but did monitor the event that took place in hope of finding an adequate challenge. He also challenged Bison, though whether or not Bison accepted his challenge, and if the result of the fight, if the former did happen, is left ambiguous. Akuma then is left as multiple participants engaged Bison. In a non-canon event, he ambushed the host, M. Bison, and made short work of him with the Shun Goku Satsu. Bison is obliterated in an instant. Akuma then engages in combat with the second finalist, but the identity of this warrior, as well as the outcome of the bout, remains unknown. In both the original Super Street Fighter II Turbo and its HD remake, Akuma has two different endings, depending on who the final opponent is. If it's M. Bison, Akuma will muse on the fact that he did not master the Psycho power and let it control him. If it's Shin Akuma, he will reflect on his victory over his own darkness and consider death beneath him. Super Street Fighter II Turbo Revival combines both endings into a whole one, while Ultra removes the second ending, thus causing the first ending to always play regardless of if Akuma beats M. Bison or Shin Akuma. In Street Fighter IV, sometime before the Third World Warrior Tournament, Ryu and Akuma would duel, with Akuma dominating the fight. As he rebukes Ryu about his rejection of the Dark Hado, Ryu finds the strength to recover and fight back. However, Ken would interrupt the fight, forcing Akuma to leave. During the events of Seth's tournament, he continues his training and senses the Satsu no Hado re-emerging within Ryu. Immediately, he sets off to find Ryu and help him realize this power so he can try to kill him in battle. Like other tournaments, Akuma does not officially enter, but stays in the shadows. Later he finds an unconscious Ryu in the care of his brother Goken. Akuma noticed that his brother had perfected the power of nothingness. The two brothers fought, with Ryu being the prize. Both survived their fight, and Ryu was saved by Goken. Akuma then continued his training and his search for a worthy opponent to match his own, raising an entire forest with his power. In Alina's ending, in Ultra Street Fighter IV, she is shown to have befriended him in one of her flashbacks. In Onyx's intro, his roar echoes through the night. Instantly after, his presence causes the explosion of a nearby tree and the death of a bird. He then looks up and proclaims that he is evil incarnate. In his ending, he stands in the center of a volcano. Then he only jumps up and chops the ground with his hand, resulting in an instant eruption that engulfs him in lava. As the lava explodes out of the volcano, Oni flies out of it unharmed, laughing manically and yelling ferociously. In Street Fighter V Prologue, Muro Tensho. In Akuma's story, he and Gen fight once again. Akuma becomes victorious in the battle, but was criticized by Gen for leading to the path of discarding humanity. He then finishes and seemingly kills Gen off for good. He then sees a vision of Ryu rejecting the Satsu no Hado. Much to his frustration, Nikali appears and challenges Akuma for her soul. Not only did Nikali lose to Akuma, but he attempts to devour Akuma, and Akuma does the Muro Tensho, to escape Nekali's stomach. He then seeks Ryu and battles him. In a Satsui no Hado vs Munoken clash, Akuma defeats Ryu in battle, but does not kill him. Instead, he questions if there is no one that can match him. Ryu, smiling while lying on the ground, asks questions to Akuma, claiming that his fists will continue to communicate with Akuma on opposite ends. Akuma then flees, letting fate determine when those two will meet again. Akuma appears in Kage's character story, which took place prior to encountering Nekali, after realizing Ryu's rejection from the Satsui during a Shadow Falls episode. After Kage went after Sagat, Akuma is the said Shadow Demon's next target. To prove his former host Ryu is nothing without him, Akuma considers Kage as nothing more than a soulless silhouette of his former host. Just as Kage mockingly claims he kept part of him at bay because of his beliefs in laws of heaven, a nearly beaten Akuma mocks Kage for not understanding anything aside from only strength and fighting endlessly. Akuma then uses a Hoten Seiken Geki to make Kage disappear from him, and wonders if Kage is the path which Ryu has truly chosen. In Street Fighter III Second Impact, like in the 3rd World Warrior Tournament, Akuma did not enter the 4th World Warrior Tournament, but once again lurked in the shadows. Akuma easily defeated Shun, who mistook him for Ryu. However, he did not realize that Gil had risen from the dead when he pulled off a shun goku satsu on him. He then faces Ryu, asking him to show him his full power, but Ryu replies that malicious intent is not the way of the warrior. In this game, he appears as a secret boss, using the raging demon on whoever the player is facing. He battles the player afterwards. If Akuma is felled, the scenery will darken, the ground will shake, and he will get back up and unleash his true power for a second fight. Akuma trained relentlessly over this period of time, harnessing his power and learning several new attacks. Some were meant to create tidal waves, others were described as powerful enough to split Uluru, Ayer's Rock, in half, and one could kill an opponent with a single blow. Kongo Konguretsu-san is a technique taught by Akuma himself, in which he channels all his power into one hand and smashes it into the ground, creating a vortex of energy upward around him. According to legend, this technique was used to destroy his original training ground, the Onigami Isle Gwento. It is also said that the same technique can cause the earth itself to crumble beneath him. In Street Fighter III Third Strike, despite his now incredible fighting skills, Akuma even fought with Oro in a simple, inconclusive battle, sensing each other's enormous ki and testing their abilities. Both men were impressed by each other's power, but they held some contempt for each other on a personal level. The episode also reveals that Akuma is now able to remain underwater, under massive pressure, and even destroy the sunken remains of a modern inner ship with his Tensho Kaireki Jing technique. The shun goku satsu, meaning instant prison murder, usually translated as the raging demon, is a super combo commonly seen used by its heavy practitioner, Akuma. It is one of the most powerful attacks throughout the franchise. In the storyline, the shun goku satsu is a very powerful but dangerous technique, taught in the original principles of the Ansatsuken by Gotetsu. When performed, the user of the Satsui no Hado would hand themselves over entirely to the killing intent, launching a series of deadly strikes in a moment. Historically, those that had used this technique had been unable to resist the potency of the Satsui no Hado and were consumed by it, their minds reduced to that of violent, demon-like berserkers, such as Iworyu and Oni. Gotetsu was the only known person who could somehow use this technique without falling into the deeper aspects of the Satsui no Hado. The Satsui no Hado, sometimes translated as the Dark Hado, is a dark energy-based force. It is the antithesis of the power of nothingness. While the executed attack is a brutal onslaught of merciless fury, the basis of the attack is said to be linked to karmic forces drawn from the influence of the Satsui no Hado, channeling an infernal punishment in which the weight of sins and evil the victim has committed attacks their soul. While immensely powerful, this attack cannot work on artificial life forms. There is only one method known to perfectly counter this attack, that some characters have survived its wrath, being the power of emptiness, or Mu. Gouken, Akuma's brother, had barely survived, being sent into a coma, before unearthing himself after coming back to consciousness. His grasp of the power of nothingness was limited at the time, and was greatly improved after his near-death experience. However, there are notable victims who somehow have survived this attack. Gil faced Shun Goku Satsu head-on, but because of his resurrection ability, he survived the encounter. As with every Street Fighter move created, All of them might have been inspired either by another anime or manga. This move in particular is not the exception. The concept of shun goku satsu and satsu no hado itself seems also heavily inspired by the concept of matoki no aura from the Fist of the North Star manga series. Furthermore, the attack seems specifically inspired by the star technique called Hokuto Manju Muanken, North Star Thousand Hand Demon Sound Fist. The technique involves countless strikes in the blink of an eye and is fueled by the user's evil fighting aura, making the Shun Goku Satsu share many similarities with it. This is the version that is used in the manga Street Fighter III Ryu Final, where Akuma's Shun Goku Satsu is visually identical to Manju Maonken. In addition, the appearance of the Heaven Kanji, characteristically associated with its user Akuma, and how the move style is that of assassination, is likely a reference to the Japanese word tenchu, meaning heavenly retribution, which was a popular memento written on paper by assassins to their victims and associates in feudal and turbulent eras of Japan. This move, while it looks cool, also serves as a great fighting tactic. In earlier installments, the Shun Goku Satsu usually can be combined into a standing jab or a standing roundhouse, as well as cancelling a slower move, in order to take advantage of the opponent being hit-stunned long enough from the prior attacks, but only if the inputs were done fast enough. Like most high-powered moves in Street Fighter IV, focus attacks can also provide an opening. Despite its power, however, characters can escape with longer range moves due to the actual grab being close range. It can also be countered with as little as a quick jab or punished with a retreating jump attack. Its first animated appearance was in the episode The World's Greatest Warrior. Akuma used this move on Goken after he was inquired by him on why he decided to make a return after so long. Akuma replies by stating that he has learned the ultimate move of their art, in which Goken says, "Not the raging demon?" To which Akuma stands up and replies, "Yes," and uses it on Goken at point-blank range. Later, during Ken's battle with Akuma, Akuma threatens to use the Shun Goku Satsu on Ken himself, but is thwarted before he can pull it off. The move makes his first cinematic appearance in Street Fighter Assassin's Fist, when Akuma uses it to kill his master, Gotetsu. As the latter charges up an extremely powerful Metsu Hadouken, Akuma engulfs himself in a mass of red flames, zooming at high speed towards Gotetsu and passing through the Hadouken. Little of the move is seen, though as Gotetsu is grabbed, a bright flash can be seen right before the shot changes, and a harrowing scream can be heard echoing along with the familiar screech. As Akuma stands over his fallen master, the kanji for heaven can be seen not only burning bright on his back, but also in the thundery clouds above. Street Fighter V revealed that the attack consists of a series of teleport punches that start out slow, but get progressively faster as the attack goes on, and targets vital weak spots of the body, which brutally, or even fatally, injures the opponent. Having mastered the original form of the unnamed Shokotan art, Akuma's fighting style is based on the same vein as the all-around characters, with a much more offense-oriented design. Akuma's overall style focuses on completely dominating the opponent and preventing counterattacks. His mix of raw attack power, combined with moves that can control the air and keep him mobile, allow him to maintain a fierce onslaught offensive that can end matches quickly. However, Akuma power is offset by very low stamina and stun, meaning that any whiffed attack or defensive opening could irreversibly tip the scales against him and lead to a massive punishment. As a result, heavy investment on the player's part is required to properly utilize his full potential. As a computer-controlled boss, Akuma is even more powerful, faster, and more durable in comparison, usually only appearing as a final or hidden boss. This reflects his personality, as Akuma often holds back his power so as to give his opponents a fighting chance. When fought as a secret boss, Akuma effectively deems the player's character worthy and powers up accordingly. In order to face him, you have to either obtain a high score, reach the last stage quickly, or defeat many human opponents without losing a single credit. Now with Akuma's basics, Akuma has better projectiles than the rest of the cast, goes through other characters' projectiles with his tatsus and teleports, controls distance better with his air Hadouken due to invulnerable tatsus, and never dizzies. It looks like he gets dizzy, but Akuma recovers instantly, effectively saving him from longer combos and juggles, but still leaves him vulnerable to meaties on wake up. Akuma basically has all option selects from the old Shotos, plus other advantages from the CP1 Ryu, and the inescapable projectile traps with Air Hadouken and Fierce Shankunetsu Hadouken. His strengths: high priority normals, and most are fast to come out. great zoning game with 2 good ground fireballs that can knock down, as well as an air fireball that basically all the cast have no answers for, can easily escape from corner traps or bad situations with teleport. High damage combos and specials, juggles well. Inescapable corner trap on some characters. 2 good offensive reversals in SRK and Satsu. Can play well offensively or defensively. Also has good combo ability. When dizzy he recovers instantly, so he will still fall for a dizzy and he's vulnerable to a meaty on waking up in his dizzy state, but that's it. As for Akuma's weaknesses, below average rain on normal, has no super, and is banned from basically everything. Balance issues. In Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Akuma is banned in US tournaments, and soft banned. For example, not used on principle as opposed to being officially unusable in Japanese tournaments. This is a result of the fact that Akuma was initially designed to be extremely powerful. Such powerful is potentially reflected in his lack of a super combo at that point. Turbo HD Remix attempted to make this effect and Akuma more playable by lowering his stamina, giving the Sanku Hadouken a blowback effect, and adding a much weaker Shun Goku Satsu as his super combo. Despite these efforts, Akuma has remained banned in the HD Remix for the large majority of tournaments, as the changes made to this character did not offset his overreaching power compared to the rest of the cast, and in some cases made it worse. Due to the steep angle of the Sanku Hadouken, inherited from his later appearances, it is possible to perform cross-up combos that could not be done originally, and with the blowback effect, he can gain extra airtime to avoid a projectile the opponent throws at him. In addition, due to a bug in the move's speed, the Raging Demon cannot be interrupted at close range, making it nearly impossible to avoid when cornered. In the original Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Akuma had 4 different win quotes, the most out of all of the other characters. Also, when he is about to be fought, his music is already playing, and he introduces himself to the player character. In Hyper Street Fighter 2, a bit of M. Bison's themes plays, and then Akuma's theme plays when he appears, and then the fight begins from there, as if to create a surprise to the players. Why Akuma's win quotes were removed from the overseas versions is unknown. In the CPS2 Street Fighter 2 games, it is highly implied Akuma is the Ancient One M. Bison was referring to in his ending. It is rather odd that Akuma would be the Ancient One, as he is younger than Gouken. So what did you like about Akuma? Let us know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on new theories and info. Thank you for watching. This has been your Street Fighter host. Welcome to the center stage. Our new Discord server. There you can talk with us, chat about current events going on in Street Fighter, information, theories, and lore. We'll leave the link in the description box below. We want to thank everyone for tuning in and becoming part of this Street Fighter community. We want to thank you for your positive comments towards our channel, because it only habilitates us to grow even more. From the Street Fighterverse crew, we thank you.